be screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Cypherfics. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the first part of, What If Issei, Rias meet Percy Jackson. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Totallynotsnipez on fanfiction.net. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. I had always felt like a misfit in my family. Born into wealth and privilege, I was expected to be perfect in every way. But no matter how strong I tried, I could never measure up to my older siblings. They were smarter and had more talent and charm. And so, I was always the black sheep, the one who never quite fit in. My only solace came from my friendship with my grandfather. He was a simple man, but he had a heart of gold. He saw something in me that no one else did, and for that, I was grateful. When he passed away, I was devastated. But that was only the beginning of the nightmare I called my life. It turned out that my grandfather had left me his entire fortune, and of course, my jealous and greedy siblings saw this as a threat. They were determined to get their hands on his money, and they saw me as the weakest link. Which I will admit I was. With the old man gone, I was desperate to form connections with other people. I was naive and foolish, trusting too easily and believing that my family had my best interests at heart. But in reality, they were manipulating me, using me to get what they wanted. And when I was left with nothing, they didn't hesitate to pay someone to take me out. My life had been a long sequence of misfortune, pain and betrayal. And now, as I look back on it all, I realized that there was never any hope for me. I hadn't been raised the way my older siblings had. While they were groomed to be cunning and smart, I was left to my own devices, and Grandpa had always told me to keep my innocence. I wish I could follow his advice, but in the end it only served to get me manipulated by those who I thought were my loved ones. The betrayal had hurt me a lot. In fact, knowing that everyone who had apparently cared for me was just using me was heart-shattering. I had always thought that death would hold the answer to life's biggest mysteries. Was there really a heaven and hell? Would I be judged for my actions on earth? But as I float in this endless void, I realized that the answer is none of the above. There is no afterlife, no pearly gates or fiery pits. There is only this emptiness, this nothingness that stretches out in every direction. It's a fate worse than any punishment because there's no end to it. I'll float here for eternity, never experiencing the joys of life or the peace of death. I had gone over my life choices multiple times and came to conclusions which helped me grow. It was just sad that this growth would never be used in any shape or form. My morals had definitely gone through a major change in my time in what I had deemed the abyss. I wouldn't have been able to harm a fly in my previous life. Perhaps it was due to the fact. I wish there was a way out of this place. With this new change in wisdom, I knew I could become something great. I felt it. I could surpass those bastards and take my place. I knew I could. It only served to frustrate me more knowing that I would never gain another chance to achieve more in life. Moving that aside, the worst part about this was the lack of anything to do like playing video games. I was kind of a hardcore gamer in my previous life with my whole family enjoying manipulating and betraying each other with their pathetic schemes. I enjoyed playing all sorts of games and I was pretty good at them too. Going from playing every day of the week to nothing was definitely annoying, to say the least. I shook my head and sighed in disappointment. I just wish I could have a second chance. As I floated in the abyss, lost in my own thoughts, I suddenly saw something that made me freeze. A massive dark purple rift in space had formed out of nothing right in front of my eyes, and I couldn't look away. I was confused and worried, unsure of what was going on. But before I could even begin to question what was happening, I was violently pulled through the dark swirling purple rift and ended up in a new space. It was a place unlike anything I have ever seen before, with multiple stars and universes stretching out in every direction. It was appealing, but the sight of it did nothing to calm my nerves. I couldn't help but wonder what had happened to me, and why I was sent to this place. Was this the afterlife? A different dimension? Or something else entirely? The uncertainty was overwhelming, and I felt more lost than I was before. What the hell was happening? Start. A giant purple box appeared out of thin air right in front of me and illuminated the surrounding area in a soft purple light. The words "Start" were written on it in golden letters, and the box seemed to pulse and glow, almost as if it was alive. I hesitated for a moment, wondering if I should touch it or not. But something in me urged me to take the chance and see what would happen. With trembling hands and uncertain movements, I pressed the button labeled "Start," and the box opened up, revealing a bright light that almost blinded me. I squinted my eyes, trying to make sense of what was happening, and that's when I saw a screen with a game interface. Loading. Ah. What the F is going on? I was pretty confused, to be honest. I didn't know how long I had been stuck in the abyss, but the sudden change was jarring. Data loaded. Okay. I didn't really know what to think at the moment. Congratulations, you have died. Oh, lucky me, I said with sarcasm heavily lacing my voice and a mock joyful pose. You have been chosen to receive the gamer system. I felt more than a little shocked. I had a sort of idea of what was happening, but the idea was so outrageous I disregarded it. I mean, I had only read about it when I had read fanfictions after running out of anime to watch. It was an interesting idea, if not a little broken. The logical side of me didn't believe it, since something like that should be impossible, right? A complete disregard of all reality and sense, but then again I was currently floating in what seemed to be space surrounded by universes. Unless I had finally lost it. Perhaps this was my mind's coping mechanism. Human select. My eyes widened in slight shock. I didn't expect to be able to change my race. That was a pleasant surprise, to say the least. While I had now confirmed what I was getting was the gamer system, I hadn't thought I would be able to be something other than human. It kind of sucked that my name was pre-chosen, but I wouldn't complain, especially when I was getting the gamer system. That power lets the user gain an unlimited amount of potential and power. It was probably one of the most overpowered, if not the most powerful out there. I had a brief idea of what would happen if I selected the question marks, but decided to ask to make sure. Wouldn't do good to F up just because I decided not to ask one simple question. Hey, system. What would happen if I selected one of the question marks instead of the human one? I asked out loud. Selecting would mean getting a random race. This can both have upsides and downsides. You could become something extremely weak and pathetic like a cockroach, or you could become something extremely powerful such as a dragon god. I nodded my head in understanding. It was basically what I had suspected, but it was good to stay on the side of caution anyway. I debated on whether to risk it or not. Becoming something like a rat would be extremely unfortunate, but on the other hand, I could become something powerful. A massive golden wheel popped into existence and began to spin. I saw multiple names go past, such as Titan and God, but also saw names such as Slime and Parrot go by. I was slightly nervous as the spin started to slow down. It eventually stopped on a name with fireworks going on behind it as if to congratulate me. I stared at the golden name floating in front of me with bemusement. It wasn't anything bad, but it was rather ironic. Was the system joking around with me? Race selected. Angel. Are you F with me? I didn't know if the system had heard my little monologue on trying to be a good person, and decided it would be funny if I became an angel. Would I fall? I mean, I'm not going to become a murder hobo, but I doubt I was pure enough to deserve such a race. Technically, the act of falling is a curse set by God which reduces the overall power of an angel by 10%, meaning you can't fall due to gamer's body preventing any power that permanently curses you from afflicting you. Oh, I see. That's cool, I suppose. I'm assuming I'll get all the racial advantages with such a race, so I had no complaints. Okay, now that's done, we move on to the gamer's Wheel of Fortune. Wait, first of all, don't I get to customize my character or something, and what's this gamer's Wheel of Fortune about? I questioned curiously. To answer your first question, no, but fear not, as a gamer we will be giving you a perfect body according to your desires. The women won't be able to keep their hands off you. That's not what I stuttered with a small blush. Secondly, the Wheel of Fortune will give you one spin to obtain a unique power from the gamer system, or a trump card, so to speak. All skills in the Wheel of Fortune are what you would call absolutely broken. For example, something like the Mad Doctor, this power grants all of the contents listed below. Perfect memory with infinite storage. Beyond genius level intellect. Can make potions that can do almost anything, from immortality to regeneration, or even cause someone to fall in love with a specific target. Immunity to disease and poison, mundane and magical. Immense knowledge of occult and alchemical lore that updates itself should you find a way to travel to different worlds. Supernaturally skilled at medicine, can cure just about anything with some research, already knows how to tackle most ailments already. MSTR of life and biology, able to create homunculi that are superior to regular versions of their species in all areas, including being ageless and perfectly loyal to you. Can conjure ingredients from thin air. Holy SHT, I blurted out, completely forgetting about the character customization. When the system had explained that I could obtain absolutely broken powers, I had expected something like time manipulation or something, but this. Being able to create potions that can do anything is basically an instant win skill. I mean, couldn't you just make a potion to gain infinite power? I felt excitement spread through my whole body, but quickly calmed myself down and regained my composure. A new screen appeared with a wheel on it and golden words presenting the Wheel of Fortune. A big red button with the word spin appeared on it. Not needing to be told what to do, I raised my arm and pressed the button. There was a flash of red as the wheel started spinning. Unique skill gained. Download passive. Allows the user to download a character from fiction or non-fiction and select one of their skills. Can only download one character per time. Time spent downloading characters will take time depending on their power level and potential. I grinned as I quickly scanned through the description. The ability to download characters and choose one of their skills sounded incredible. Even though I could only get one skill at a time, it was still invaluable to have. I figured the download might take a while, but now that I was an angel, I assumed I'd gain some sort of light manipulation ability. So, I wouldn't be completely defenseless while waiting for the download. Overall, I was pleased with what I had gained. Considering I had watched a lot of anime in my previous life, I wasn't worried about running out of characters to download. I scanned through all the new information provided by the system and furrowed my brow in slight confusion. Several questions popped into my mind. Hey system, shouldn't I have levels and stat points? I inquired, my tone tinged with confusion. To answer your first question, this system does not run on levels or status points. You can earn points via training or quest rewards. I see, and what about the power level display below it? I questioned the system. That's simply to measure your power with more accuracy. Your power level will increase as you gain more stat points and through training. Additionally, mastering skills can also contribute to boosting your power level. I looked at the notification and eventually nodded my head in understanding. It was pretty simple. I looked at my current power level. Yup, I definitely need to do some sort of training. Can I destroy a wall with a singular punch? That was pretty insane to think about. It was most definitely something I planned to try out as soon as I could. I took a second more to process all of this before nodding and gesturing for the system to continue. I was feeling a little impatient and wanted to move on already. After being trapped in the abyss for so long, I was desperate to see the light of day again. While the view of multiple universes spiraling around me was a breathtaking sight, I wanted to be alive again. Okay, now on to the last part. So now what? You shall be given 4 spins, 1 for a weapon and 1 for an ability. The last 2 for perks. Would you like to spin for a weapon? Yes/no. I pressed yes, watching as another gacha-looking construct appeared and began flashing through multiple names. Eventually it stopped on a sword I knew of from anime. Murasame Ga Kill Legendary. Murasame is an extremely powerful cursed blade that can kill a person with a single cut. Once the sword pierces the skin, a poisonous curse will spread through the victim's body, killing them within seconds by stopping their heart. Murasame's trump card is a performance enhancer titled Little War Horn that strengthens its user with the power of its poisonous curse. When the trump card is activated, the user's scaras turn black with black markings appearing around their pupils and a dark aura envelopes their body. This technique will increase the user's strength significantly. Abilities: 1 cut kill, Little War Horn. Passive effects: none. Warning: powerful beings will be able to resist the curse, however the more cuts you give them the more chance that the curse will overwhelm them and kill them. That was pretty decent. I had seen other swords much worse flash through, and being able to one-cut creatures even if higher beings could resist it was awesome. It would be good as a starter sword, since I had no intention of pissing off any powerful beings. A new screen popped up after a while of observing the description of my new weapon. Would you like to spin for a perk? Yes/no. Again, I pressed yes. I didn't understand why it even offered the option. The gacha-like construct spun, displaying multiple names along with weak and overpowered abilities, leaving me feeling anxious. It landed on an ability that made me feel slightly surprised. Mokuton Naruto LVL 0/20 Novice. Would release Mokuton is a nature transformation Kekii Genkai, a combination of earth and water release. It was famously used by Hashirama Senju. At its simplest, wood release allows the user to create wood, essentially converting their chakra into a source of life. At its greatest, mighty trees of various sizes and shapes can be created. The wood release was also equally famous for its power to manipulate, suppress, and/or absorb a target's energy. Abilities: wood manipulation, absorption, wood clones. Poison release. Passive effects: enhanced chakra, natural affinity towards earth and water. That was pretty good, the ability to absorb energies. That sounded useful. Mokuton was pretty awesome from what I knew of it. Being able to create entire forests was kind of like forming your own domain. I was happy with it. Would you like to spin for a perk? Yes/no. The construct spun again as I accepted. Eventually landing on a perk that made me feel a little embarrassed. Allure passive. Allure is a remarkable power that bestows upon its user an irresistible aura of extreme charisma and an otherworldly attractiveness. Those who possess this power possess an innate ability to captivate and charm others, drawing them in like moths to a flame. The charisma granted by allure is extraordinary, allowing the user to effortlessly persuade, influence, and manipulate others. Their words carry a weight of persuasiveness that is difficult to resist. Also experience a physical transformation that sets them apart from ordinary individuals. Their appearance becomes enhanced, with flawless skin, radiant eyes, and an ethereal beauty that seems to defy conventional standards. This enchanting allure has an almost hypnotic effect on others, drawing them in with an irresistible magnetism that is difficult to resist. Now, I could see the use. Charisma was its own type of power, and it would make it easier if I got myself stuck in a situation I couldn't fight my way out of. The appearance part was also interesting. Heh. I pointedly ignored the system's small chuckle. Would you like to spin for a perk? Yes/no. This time the perk I got was a bit less embarrassing. Prodigy passive. The Prodigy perk unlocks the true potential of the user's mind and body. When harnessed, Prodigy enables the user to rapidly absorb and assimilate knowledge and skills, allowing them to learn things at an increased rate. Physically, the Prodigy perk enhances the user's agility, reflexes, and magical abilities. From combat techniques to athletic prowess, the user effortlessly adapts, quickly gaining proficiency in various physical activities and achieving feats that would typically require years of dedicated training. I grinned in excitement. The Prodigy perk seemed pretty invaluable since it would lessen the time required to learn new skills and help me gain power much faster. Before I could think further on the newly obtained perk, a golden light surrounded me. What's going on?" I questioned. "Entering the world of DxD. Wait, right now? Isn't this a little sudden?" I got no reply as the golden light brightened, and in a flash, I was shot through space at unimaginable speeds. Dimensional Gap POV. Deep within the dimensional gap, Ophis, a powerful entity, fixed her gaze upon a colossal red dragon. Hatred seethed within her as she readied herself for yet another intense battle, marking their 100th confrontation. However, a sudden surge of overwhelming power shattered the tension of the moment, causing her eyes to widen in slight surprise. Before Ophis could react, an immense beam of radiant golden light streaked past her with breathtaking speed. The intensity of the light blurred her vision momentarily, as if time itself struggled to keep pace. The awe-inspiring display left her momentarily frozen, unable to comprehend the magnitude of the event unfolding before her. As the golden beam vanished into the distance, a rift materialized directly in its wake. Ophis observed the enigmatic portal, its ethereal energy pulsating with an air of mysterious purpose. Her curiosity mingled with lingering surprise as she contemplated the implications of this unexpected turn of events. She idly noticed that Great Red was also watching the beam with a rare expression of caution. She didn't know what it was or who it was. But whatever it was had enough power to make the giant red dragon cautious. With the Cows Brigade failing her at every chance, it was about time she found herself another solution to her problem. She made a resolution to find this strange being and get it to help her kill the Great Red. I slowly woke up with a groan of discomfort, my eyes gradually fluttering open. Immediately my body was engulfed in an intense heat that made me feel as if I were on fire. Every muscle aching with pain, seemingly protesting against the simplest movement. I pushed through the pain that sent waves of discomfort through my every limb. Eventually managing to groggily sit up, my head spinning and my throat dry. As I coughed, a harsh rasp escaped my throat, adding to the disorienting haze that clouded my senses. With bleary eyes, I glanced around the unfamiliar surroundings, knitting my brows together in confusion. Blinking away the haze, I strained to focus my blurry eyes on my surroundings. I struggled to make sense of where I was. There were multiple screen pop-ups in front of me. Attempting to make sense of my situation, I reached out with a trembling hand, grasping the dirt below me. I suddenly remembered all the events that had transpired, with the memories coming back to me in a flash. I let out a laugh of exhilaration. I was alive. The whole gamer thing was real. I had honestly had my doubts, and a part of me had feared I had gone insane. Relief spread throughout my body. The relief at knowing I hadn't gone completely insane, along with the fact that I was once again alive, made me somewhat relax from my tense state. Now slightly more relaxed and remember how I got here. I took this time to look through the many various screens that were hovering in front of me. Skill gained. Appraisal passive. Allows the user to gain insightful information about their targets, as well as discern their power level and rank. Skill gained. Light Manipulation LVL, 1/20th Novice. Light manipulation is an extraordinary power that grants its wielder control over the very essence of light itself. Those who possess this ability can shape, manipulate, and bend light to their will, harnessing its radiant energy for a myriad of purposes. Passive effect, reduces light manipulation cost by 10%. Skill gained. Holy Power Manipulation LVL, 1/20th Novice. Holy power manipulation is a sacred and divine ability that allows its wielder to channel and control the forces of pure righteousness and divine energy. Those blessed with this power possess a deep connection to the divine, enabling them to shape and direct holy energies for various purposes. With holy power manipulation, the user can generate and radiate a powerful aura of pure light and divine energy. This radiant aura can inspire courage and hope in allies, while striking fear and weakness into the hearts of darkness and evil. The intensity of this holy aura can be adjusted, ranging from a gentle glow to a blinding brilliance that sears the eyes of demonic entities. Passive effect, reduces holy power cost by 10%. My eyes widened at the two new skills. The even bigger shock was the holy power manipulation. If my knowledge was correct, that was a pretty rare ability among the angels. I should be able to use healing magic with my holy power manipulation if I am correct. Deciding to test out my new light manipulation skill, I held up my hand and activated the skill. I felt my mana rush to my hand and a ball of light formed. Holding out my hand, I sent the ball flying into a nearby tree and left a scorching mark on its bark. New skill: Mana Manipulation. Mana Manipulation LVL, 1/20th Novice. Mana manipulation is the ability to HRNSS and control the fundamental essence of magic known as mana. With mana manipulation wielding the essence of mana as their own, they can reshape the fabric of reality through their command of mystical energies, channeling the raw power of the universe to create, destroy, heal, protect and kill. Passive effect, reduces mana cost by 10%. I looked over the description. That was pretty easy. Though that may be due to my prodigy perk or the gamer system, I honestly didn't know, but I could now feel my mana swirling inside me and knew I could access it with a mere thought. I hadn't put that much of my mana into that ball of light, but it was still hot enough to leave black and burn marks on the bark of the tree I had shot at. Which was pretty impressive. Glancing up, I finally took note of my surroundings. Looking around me from my place on the ground, I took in the sight of the vast crater that surrounded me, evidence of my abrupt arrival. I furrowed my brows as I surveyed my surrounding area. It quickly became apparent that I was in a forest of some kind. The large towering trees in the unknown forest jutted high in the sky, stretching towards the heavens. They possessed an intimidating presence. Their branches twisted and reached out like gnarled fingers, casting eerie shadows upon the forest floor. Trying my best to peek through the many branches, I was barely able to make out that it was around dusk and would probably start to get dark soon. The forest around me felt wrong, something that set it apart from any other forest I had ever been in. Even the air was tangibly different from anything I had ever encountered. As I looked up, a confused frown formed on my face. The sky, instead of the familiar blue hue I had grown accustomed to my whole life, was adorned in a surreal shade of purple, further adding to my confusion. Where the hell am I? Staring at the purple sky for a few seconds, it finally clicked and I couldn't help the bewildered expression that spread across my face. I was in the underworld. I had just remembered that the underworld in DxD had a purple sky, making it pretty easy to guess where I was. So, I was an angel, and pretty weak at that. In a random location in the underworld. That place where all the devils and fallen angels presided, and to top that off, I didn't even know where in the underworld I was. Quest generated. Quest. Where am I? Description: you have arrived in Highschool DxD, but you find yourself in an unfamiliar place. Objective: find out your location. Reward: stat crystal, 500 credits. Accept/decline. I stood there staring at the screen for a while before I let out a long sigh of annoyance. I was kind of hoping the system would just give me some sort of clue or outright tell me where I was to increase my survival ratings. With the looming threat of the devils and fallen angels and whatever other creatures lay in wait, it would be nice to at least know why I was transported into the middle of a random forest in the underworld. It would be awkward if some random devil went out on a stroll and found an angel strolling around in the middle of the underworld. I checked the screen again and raised an eyebrow at the rewards. I decided to ask the system and hoped it would actually answer me. Hey, system, are you there? Yes. Okay, would you mind explaining the rewards on this quest? Like what a status crystal is or these credits I seem to be getting? I asked in a confused tone of voice. Status crystals are a usable item granted by the gamer system via quests or rare drops. When used, the user will gain a random attributed stat point in the user's status sheet. Credits are the currency used by the gamer system. This currency can be used to either exchange for other currency or used in the system store. I see. I had suspected the credits were some sort of currency, but that was useful, and the status crystals were a nice surprise. I was honestly expecting to have to brutally grind my stats to gain power, but that was a nice addition and a store function. I looked back at the quest and pressed accept. I was going to be finding out where I was one way or the other, so I might as well get free stuff in doing so. Quest generated. Quest. Tutorial. Description: you have just arrived in a new and dangerous world, but you don't know how to use the gamer system. Let us help and give you a basic tutorial on how it works. Objective: work out how the system functions. Reward: 100 credits. Accept/decline. It would have been nice if I had gotten this a little earlier, I said with my left eye twitching slightly. I was simply letting you adjust to your surroundings. I suppose that makes sense, I mumbled and clicked the accept button. The world went gray and all noise abruptly stopped. A large screen hovered in front of him as the world itself seemed to just pause. Welcome to the tutorial. Press start to begin. Start. Slightly creeped out by my now completely silent surroundings. I wondered what was going on before I just shrugged and chalked it up to gamer bullshit and pressed start. Okay, let's begin with opening your status page. Your status page allows you to view your progress and stats. To open this, you must simply mentally or vocally utter the word status. Status? I said slightly questioningly. I'm going to need to start working on those stats. I had nothing to go off, but since I was just starting, I knew I was probably super weak, especially in a world full of monsters like DxD. Alright, next, to enter your skills list, simply use the command phrase skills, and a tab of all your existing skills will appear. I nodded, that seemed pretty simple. Skills, I uttered the command phrase and watched as a list of all my acquired skills appeared. Skill list. Download passive. Allows the user to download a character from fiction or non-fiction and select one of their skills. Can only download one character per time. Time spent downloading characters will take time depending on their power level. Appraisal passive. Allows the user to gain insightful information about their targets, as well as discern their power level and rank. Mana manipulation LVL, 1/20th novice. Mana manipulation is a mystical power that grants its wielder the ability to HRNSS and control the fundamental essence of magic known as mana. With mana manipulation wielding the essence of mana as their own, they can reshape the fabric of reality through their command of mystical energies, channeling the raw power of the universe to create, destroy, heal, protect and kill. Passive effect, reduces mana cost by 10%. Light manipulation LVL, 1/20th novice. Light manipulation is an extraordinary power that grants its wielder control over the very essence of light itself. Those who possess this ability can shape, manipulate, and bend light to their will, harnessing its radiant energy for a myriad of purposes. Passive effect, reduces light manipulation cost by 10%. Holy power manipulation LVL, 1/20th novice. Holy power manipulation is a sacred and divine ability that allows its wielder to channel and control the forces of pure righteousness and divine energy. Those blessed with this power possess a deep connection to the divine, enabling them to shape and direct holy energies for various purposes. With holy power manipulation, the user can generate and radiate a powerful aura of pure light and divine energy. This radiant aura can inspire courage and hope in allies, while striking fear and weakness into the hearts of darkness and evil. The intensity of this holy aura can be adjusted, ranging from a gentle glow to a blinding brilliance that sears the eyes of malevolent entities. Passive effect, reduces holy power cost by 10%. Mokutan LVL, 1/20th Novice. Would release Mokutan is a nature transformation Kekii Genkai, a combination of earth and water release. It was famously used by Hashirama Senju. At its simplest, wood release allows the user to create wood, essentially converting their chakra into a source of life. At its greatest, mighty trees of various sizes and shapes can be created. The wood release was also equally famous for its power to manipulate, suppress, and/or absorb a target's energy. Passive effects, enhanced chakra, natural affinity towards earth and water. I scanned through my skill list and frowned in thought. I was going to have to work on leveling them all up soon. Especially the mana manipulation and Mokutan. Those are my probably most important skills right now. Mana manipulation reduces my overall mana cost and Mokutan is just being overpowered as hell. Ah, the gamer system is such a cheat and I love it. Who said playing fair was ever fun? On to one of your most important gamer functions, the inventory. To enter your inventory simply use the command phrase, inventory. Inventory. A new screen appeared and I looked over my inventory space with mild intrigue, noticing my newly purchased blade safely placed in there. Out of curiosity I decided to attempt to withdraw it and watched with slight fascination as a dark swirling portal appeared. With hesitation I slowly put my hand in, and feeling the handle of a blade I realized I could pull it out. Deciding I could play around with Murasame later, I released the katana handle and pulled my hand back out of the mini portal, the dark portal closing as soon as I withdrew my hand. Perfect. Now that you've had time to experiment with your inventory, let's move on to your active quests list. This will allow you to look at all your active quests. To open this feature, use the command phrase, quests. Quests, I decided to try calling for it mentally, and sure enough, like the system had stated, a new screen popped up with a list of my current active quests. Quests. Quest. Tutorial. Description: you have just arrived in a new and dangerous world, but you don't know how to use the gamer system. Let us help and give you a basic tutorial on how it works. Objective: work out how the system functions. Reward: 100 credits. Quest: where am I? Description: you have arrived in Highschool DxD, but you find yourself in an unfamiliar place. Objective: find out your location. Reward: stat crystal, 500 credits. Neat. Now to the last part of this tutorial, your system shop function. The shop function is a place where the gamer can purchase items from the gamer system in exchange for credits. To open the system shop, use the command phrase, shop. Shop. Instantly a wide assortment of items and skills appeared in front of me, presenting me with a virtual shop of infinite possibilities. The array of items and choices before me was nothing short of amazing. I couldn't help but be slightly captivated by the sheer assortment displayed on the screen, showcasing a seemingly infinite selection of skills, stats, items, perks, and more. I couldn't help the greedy grin that spread across my face. As my gaze scanned the top of the screen, I noticed distinct categories demanding my attention. There they were, neatly organized for my exploration: skills, stats, items, perks, and an interesting array of other options awaiting exploration. I could admit I was briefly overwhelmed. I hadn't expected the shop to present me with this many choices. Especially when I saw how powerful some of the items were. My eyes were instantly drawn to the top right corner, where a glowing golden symbol caught my attention. It emitted a captivating radiance that couldn't be ignored, indicating a collection of limited items for sale. The words, 50% off, adorned these items, but unfortunately, they were still way out of my price range. That was the only downside to exploring all the choices the system's shop presented me. I noticed that everything powerful was extremely expensive. Seeing the prices in the store made me realize it was going to require an ungodly amount of grinding to achieve. I suppose it was fair though, since some of these items would break DXD. Out of curiosity, I searched for the Akame Ga Kill Murasame sword I had purchased and gaped at the price. 50,000 credits. I had to recheck that I saw the price tag correctly. I couldn't believe it. I had gotten it for free. It suddenly made the credits I was getting from my quest seem much less impressive than I had thought. Thinking about it now, the price was kind of understandable. Being able to stop people's hearts in one cut was pretty strong, even if it wouldn't affect many stronger beings which would need more cuts. It was still a good starting weapon. I decided to search up how much Mokuton was worth, and I was pretty surprised to see that it was worth 70,000 credits. However, as I looked through the various weapons available, I realized that Murasame was actually one of the cheaper swords. All the truly good swords were much more expensive, which made sense. That's why I had gotten Murasame. Some people may not find it impressive like I do, but all the other truly overpowered swords were extremely expensive. Murasame was definitely a good starting weapon for me. I decided to stop exploring the shop since I had other things to do, and wasting hours being shocked by prices of various abilities was not a good use of my time. Especially when I was stuck in the underworld. Now being finished with the tutorial, a new notification popped up. Tutorial finished. Quest completed. Rewards. 100 credits gained. Congratulations. The world suddenly unfreezed once more, the color seemingly returning into the world from its prior gray state and the sounds coming back as if someone had just unmuted the world. I felt the wind that had ceased altogether come back and blow gently through my hair. I looked around and finally decided to get up from my previous place where I had been sitting on the ground. I brushed myself off all the dirt that had landed on me, now noticing the white kimono I was dressed in, which was oddly comfortable. I did a few stretches in it and moved around. The white kimono I was wearing seemed to fit me perfectly and didn't interfere with any of my stretching, making it pretty easy to move around in. This was my first time wearing a kimono, and thus it was a new experience for me. I was brought out of my childlike curiosity about my clothing by a loud growl that made me freeze. As the inhuman guttural growl pierced the stillness of the air, a shiver ran down my spine. I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand at attention. This was my first encounter with another living creature in my life, and I had to say it wasn't going great, judging by the inhuman hate that I could see coming from its eyes. As if my very presence pissed it off. From the strange shadows of the surrounding forest, a monstrous presence emerged, its form obscured by the shadows cast by the towering trees. Two bestial slitted eyes glaring at me. I fixed my gaze upon the creature that stalked towards me. A wolf-like beast with fur black as the night itself. Its eyes, crimson and baleful, boring into my very soul, sending a chill coursing through my veins. Say what you want, but as a formerly normal human, that SHT was terrifying. As if emerging from the nightmarish realm itself, for additional sets of glowing eyes glimmered menacingly behind what appeared to be the alpha. The sheer size of the alpha wolf was staggering, dwarfing the size of a fully grown lion. Its colossal form towered over the rest. Being someone who hadn't seen many animals other than at the zoo, I probably should have expected some sort of creature to be drawn to my location. After all, looking around the clearing, I saw multiple trees that had blown over, and the ground around me was shattered from the impact of my arrival. It was obvious my arrival had caused a commotion. Shaking off the feeling of its presence, I scoffed and glared right back at it. I didn't get reborn just to die to some shitty animal. I had already died, and I had to say death was boring as F. I decided to use appraisal to estimate how F I was. Appraisal. Name, none. Title, Shadow Wolf Alpha. Race, Shadow Wolf. Rank, 9B. Power level, 500. Description: the shadow wolves are notorious for their ability to blend into the shadows and sneak up on their prey. Additionally, they can shadow jump into any surrounding shadows, making them an annoying hunter to escape from. Warning, the alpha is known to be twice as strong as a normal shadow wolf. I see. He was 60 above me in terms of power level, so it shouldn't be too strong to fight him, but that's the problem with wolves. I looked at the other shadow wolves starting to creep towards me. They always travel in packs. I decided to use appraisal on the other wolves to see if they were going to be a problem. Name, none. Title, Shadow Wolf. Race, Shadow Wolf. Rank, 9C. Power level, 370. Description: the shadow wolves are notorious for their ability to blend into the shadows and sneak up on their prey. Additionally, they can shadow jump into any surrounding shadows, making them an annoying hunter to escape from. Okay, that was manageable. I honestly didn't know if I could take them, but I was pretty sure I wouldn't be able to outrun them. In a flash, I brought my left hand out and formed a light spear. It was crude, a testament to my inexperience with light manipulation, but it would do for now. I quickly launched it at the alpha but frowned as he dodged, and it instead hit the shadow wolf behind him. I instantly backed away, as that seemed to have pissed them off even more as they all snarled and charged at me. I again quickly formed another light spear, throwing it at one of the approaching wolves and hitting it in the shoulder. I really needed to learn how to aim better. I had to dodge as the alpha was already on me. Its teeth snapped shut on my previous location. I quickly started to dash into the forest, hoping to gain distance, as another crude light spear formed in my outstretched hand. The wolves behind me were not letting up in the slightest. I threw the light spear again, managing to hit one of the wolves lagging as the others dodged, stabbing it straight through the skull, making it drop dead. Light manipulation leveled up. 20 credits gained. Luckily the other wolf I hit seemed to be lagging behind its fellow companions due to the pain. Which was good. I grinned as I started to feel my BLD pumping. This was fun in a strange way I couldn't comprehend. I felt alive. My life had been so boring, and now here I was fighting shadow wolves. I couldn't think of my excitement further as the alpha shadow traveled in front of me, and I had to duck just in time to narrowly avoid his maw ripping out my throat. I held up both of my hands this time and formed 2 light spears in both hands with some difficulty and concentration. I threw one at the alpha as he dodged again, and it hit a tree. I threw the other at the nearest shadow wolf other than the alpha, and it went straight through its skull with a spray of BLD and slumped over. Dead. 20 credits gained. I finally started to feel myself get winded as I had been running at full speed for a few minutes. I am going to need to work on my stamina. Coming up to a clearing with a lake and, more importantly, no shadows, I created and shot another spear of light at a shadow wolf, since I had now realized the alpha wasn't going to go down with one like the others. The shadow wolf barely avoided it and got a cut along its side that started to bleed. Finally out in the clearing, I stopped and turned around, watching the shadow alpha and the 2 of the last wolves behind him. One of them was the one I hit earlier that was half limping and growling. I opened my inventory, grabbed Murasame by the hilt and pulled it out with ease. I felt myself panting slightly. I had been running faster than any human could hope to run, and it was easy to maintain, but that didn't do anything to detract my savage grin. I looked down slightly, not letting the wolves out of my sight but admiring the beauty of Murasame in my hands. The blade extends seamlessly through the hilt, ensuring an optimal balance and a solid, unyielding structure. This design not only enhances its resilience in combat but also offers precise control and maneuverability, allowing the wielder to execute swift and calculated strikes. Meticulously hand-polished to perfection, Murasame gleamed. The expertly crafted yokota, where the edge transitions to the point. Its sharp and defined edge adding to the swords. Its razor-sharp edge gleamed. Adorned with a vibrant red handle, Murasame radiated death. The hilt is designed to provide a comfortable and secure grip. Completing the ensemble, the sword is accompanied by a matching red sheath, crafted with meticulous attention to detail. The sheath prevented it from cutting anyone. The blade has a subtle, almost ethereal, purple glow emanating from its surface. Ready to kill anything that it cuts. I focused my attention back on the shadow wolves. Getting ready with Murasame in my right hand. I extend my left arm and form a light spear. There's a few seconds of silence as both I and the wolves get ready to attack before I launch the spear at the injured wolf. It was too injured to dodge properly and got its throat impaled by the attack. 20 credits gained. The other wolves growl and charge me as I run towards them. I barely avoid a slash of the alpha's claws before I dash to the side and go after the other wolf. It jumped towards me recklessly due to its lack of intelligence. I was able to duck and with a swing of my blade slash its right side. I was about to back away only to be slammed by the tail of the alpha. The force sent me skidding back. That hurt. I watched with fascination as the wolf I had cut gained markings over its body before it simply slumped down. Dead. That cut would have hurt it, but it wasn't a killing attack. Well, at least it seemed the blade worked as advertised. I hissed slightly from the pain from the alpha attack. 20 credits gained. I was lucky that these wolves were pretty stupid, or I suspect I would have had a much harder time. The alpha looked beyond enraged. It let out a loud roar and charged at me. I ran with Murasame gripped firmly in my grasp and formed another light spear. I launched it at him as he swiftly dodged, and I barely ducked under a slash of his deadly sharp claws. Dashing back as he came down with a nasty bite. Hoping to rip my throat out. I sent another light spear flying at him and frowned a bit as I felt my mana reserves start to get low. The giant alpha came at me and I barely avoided its bite but gritted my teeth as it instantaneously swiped its deadly tail at me at the same time. Forcing me to block with my arms and launching me back a few yards. It seemed I couldn't underestimate this one. He was smarter than the others. I could see the gleam of intelligence in its eyes. I looked at my forearms which were bright red from the nasty attack, and instead of being angry I laughed. I gave the alpha a vicious smile that seemed to make it take a step back. I launched myself at it with renewed vigor and intensity. Slashing my sword in a wide arc at it. I quickly avoided the tail bash and dashed to the side, avoiding its deadly claw swipe. With the side of its torso exposed I brought up Murasame and with a heavy slash of Murasame, cut through his torso. Watching as the sharp blade easily cut through its flesh I grinned. Victory! Instead of facing it I simply put my blade back in its sheath and back into my inventory as I glanced back over my shoulder and saw the strange symbols like before spread over its body as he dropped like a puppet with its strings cut. Murasame was definitely a good starting weapon. 50 credits gained. I let out a breath of exhaustion. I was pretty exhausted. Fighting a bunch of shadow wolves wasn't as easy as it seemed. I would have to be more careful from now on. It was lucky those wolves were around my level of power and weren't that smart, except maybe the alpha, or I seriously would have been in trouble. Sitting down for a few minutes I had a small rest, letting my adrenaline settle down after the intense battle. I felt myself grow extremely tired. Just as I went to get up a new screen appeared. Through intense physical excursion, you have gained 1 DX gained. 1 VIT gained. 1 MAG gained. Well, that was certainly easier than I expected. Looking over at the river I got up and walked over towards it and looked into my reflection. As I peered into the still waters of the lake, my breath caught in my throat at the sight that greeted me. The reflection staring back at me was nothing short of astounding. The system had promised that my appearance would be handsome, but what I looked like exceeded all expectations. A pair of mesmerizing hazel eyes locked with mine, radiating a captivating allure that seemed to draw others in. They held a depth and intensity that I hadn't possessed before. It was as if the very essence of charisma and magnetism had been bestowed upon me. The aristocratic contours of my face revealed chiseled features that could rival those of sculptures. My jawline was strong, with a perfectly symmetrical face that seemed almost otherworldly. Every detail seemed carefully crafted, a testament to the system's meticulous attention to perfection. Strands of silky golden hair cascaded effortlessly, framing my face in a way that accentuated my features perfectly and added to the air of superiority that surrounded me. It was as if even the simplest movements of my hair exuded elegance and grace. As I absorbed my new appearance, I noticed it held an aura of superiority that seemed to emanate from my very being. I wasn't even trying to look that way, and it was a strange sensation. It was as if an invisible crown rested upon my head, bestowing upon me an innate sense of authority and power. Was this the allure perk, subtly influencing those around me without my conscious effort? That was certainly interesting, to say the least. I touched my face to confirm that it was my face. I must admit I was pretty shocked at my appearance. I looked down at my kimono and noticed it was still intact even after the 2 attacks I had suffered from the alpha. That was good. I would hate to have to go running around naked like some sort of Tarzan wannabe. SWNGNG around branches and SHT. Even if Tarzan was pretty awesome. The only unfortunate thing about my appearance was my age. Even though I looked amazing, I looked to be about 14 years old. Which was annoying since I seemed to have aged. Actually, you're 12 years old. That was even more annoying, to be honest. At least I seemed to look 2 years above my age. I even seemed to have muscles forming on my arms from the look of it. Which was nice. I could only imagine how much they would grow as my stats grew, but leaving that aside, I need to find somewhere to rest. I felt another wave of tiredness hit me. My eyes started to feel dreary and I knew I was exhausted. Just as the weariness began to settle in my bones, I cast my gaze upwards, my eyes drawn to the towering giants that enveloped me. With a surge of strength, I propelled myself upward, relying on every ounce of strength within me to ascend onto one of the colossal branches that reached towards the sky. It would have to serve as my makeshift resting place for now. Perched upon the sturdy limb, I settled myself as comfortably as possible. With a sigh, I let my body relax, feeling the strain of my recent exertions weigh upon me. My eyelids grew heavy, and my mind surrendered to the call of sleep. I had felt oddly exhausted since waking up, and I felt rushing anything else while I was tired wouldn't be a good decision. With that in mind, I allowed myself to drift away, succumbing to the exhaustion that permeated every fiber of my body. This was going to be fun. Jumping off the large tree I had been sleeping on with a loud thud, I felt the impact reverberate through my body. As I bent my knees on impact to absorb the momentum. Luckily, I wasn't a human, or that probably would have broken most of my bones. The branch I had been sleeping on was extremely high up. I experimentally stretched my arms, expecting some lingering soreness, but to my surprise, I felt as good as new and refreshed. No lingering fatigue or stiffness. I decided to make my way to the clearing where I had slain the alpha shadow wolf yesterday, with the lake beside it. It seemed like a suitable place to start my training and attempt to see what my limits were with my newfound abilities. There was no room for slack, especially in a world filled with country-destroying monsters like Highschool DxD. Reaching the clearing, I looked at the place where the alpha's body was with a frown. Keyword being was, since it seemed someone or something had dragged it away, judging by the massive trail of blood leading into the dark shadows of the forest. This was definitely a good reminder that there is always something lurking around. I would have to make sure to keep my guard up. I had a sneaking suspicion that the shadow wolves yesterday were at the bottom of the food chain, and that did nothing to calm my nerves. It made it clearer than ever that I need to start training to get stronger, lest I am defeated. Deciding not to ponder on the subject any further, I walked into the middle of the clearing. I was going to start with Mokuton. I was a bit nervous to use it in yesterday's battle with the shadow wolves, since unlike the light spear, which was simple and easy to use, I didn't know what using wood style would feel like. I put my hands together and focused. Luckily, I had basic knowledge on how to use all the skills that I was given. If not, it probably would have taken longer to figure out light manipulation yesterday. Opening my eyes, I slammed both hands on the ground and envisioned The move I wanted to use. It was fairly simple. I was using the tree next to me to send a wooden spike to go underground and impale the bush I was aiming for. I was going for a simple move since I was confident that I wouldn't be able to do any more complex moves with such a low mastery. Like the light spears as an example. I was sure at a higher mastery I could make many cool weapons and attacks along with doing other things with it, but for now I could barely even make a light spear. Which basically all fallen angels and angels could use. As I waited for my first attempt at impaling the bush, I frowned. I had waited for 10 more seconds before looking up in confusion. What the F? Nothing happened. Is this skill broken? No, the user does not have chakra which is needed for Mokuton to work. Oh, that's bullshit. Not getting a response, I sighed. That was admittedly really annoying. I had kind of been looking forward to using Mokuton like Hashirama, the badass god of shinobi himself, but unfortunately, it would seem I needed to find a way to obtain chakra, and unless anyone had a spare chakra fruit sitting around somewhere. I didn't know how I was going to go about doing that. Then it suddenly clicked. I could simply use my skill download. I would have to choose a weak character, since the download time depended on the strength of the character I was choosing. Choose template, _. Who's useless in Naruto? Ah. Yes. She will do nicely. I quickly typed. Sakura Haruno World Naruto chosen. I made sure to choose the younger version since she did admittedly become less useless towards the end of Naruto anime. I purposefully chose the younger version since the older version I suspect would take a lot longer to download. Sakura Haruno downloading. Okay, now that was done, I would simply let that go on in the background while I decided to focus on my light manipulation and holy manipulation along with mana manipulation for good measure. I chose to start with light manipulation since I had a feeling it was going to be my main skill and plus it was overpowered as hell. I mean, imagine all the uses it has: illusion, light constructs, and I'm sure I could find a way to make it boost my speed. At a higher mastery, of course. Sitting down and shifting to get comfortable, I opened the palm of my hand, focusing my intent on manipulating light. Drawing upon my light manipulation, I began to shape the raw energy into a small ball of luminescence. It glowed softly in my grasp, casting a faint radiance in the dim surroundings. I knew that my mastery over light manipulation was still in its novice stages. I had yet to achieve the ability to manifest a complete light weapon. I kept trying even as it cost me a lot of my focus due to the complexity of the shape I was trying to get it to form as. With deliberate concentration, I guided the ball of light to change its shape, molding it through sheer force of will. It shifted and transformed, taking on various forms as I manipulated its essence. Though I struggled to maintain a consistent structure, I kept trying. I heard multiple pings ring out but ignored it in favor of trying to actually form a light weapon. This exercise was essential for developing a greater command over my light manipulation. By constantly moving and reshaping the ball of light, I aimed to refine my ability to control its properties and manipulate it with precision. It was a deliberate process of trial and error, as I experimented with different techniques and approaches that came to mind. I finally stopped after I felt my mana reserves run dry and wiped the beads of sweat off my forehead. It seems that it was more taxing than I had expected. I had spent a few hours straight manipulating the ball of light, and it had fortunately paid off. Since I was reusing the mana instead of throwing it like my light spear, it allowed me to keep the ball of light on for much longer, plus leveling up my mana manipulation at the same time. Through intense magical excursion and magical control you have gained 2 mag gained. I immediately felt my magical reserves deepen by around 8%, judging by the new addition probably a bit more by a few decimals, but who gives a f. The point being, it felt good and I wanted more. Light manipulation has leveled up. X9. Mana manipulation has leveled up. X2. Light manipulation LVL, 11/20 novice. Light manipulation is an extraordinary power that grants its wielder control over the very essence of light itself. Those who possess this ability can shape, manipulate, and bend light to their will, harnessing its radiant energy for a myriad of purposes. Passive effect, reduces light manipulation cost by 10%. Mana manipulation LVL, 3/20 novice. Mana manipulation is the ability to HRNSS and control the fundamental essence of magic known as mana. With mana manipulation wielding the essence of mana as their own, they can reshape the fabric of reality through their command of mystical energies, channeling the raw power of the universe to create, destroy, heal, protect and kill. Passive effect, reduces mana cost by 10%. I jumped up from my place seated on the ground and groaned as I stretched, feeling my joints pop with an audible crack. I think that will be sufficient for now. While the progress was enormous, it was still extremely boring sitting around doing nothing but manipulating a ball of light. Even with how cool it is to be able to use real magic. I moved around for a few minutes to get the numb feeling in my legs away from sitting down for so long, when I remembered something I had forgotten. My wings. I hadn't actually gotten a chance to look at them, and looking up I didn't have the typical golden halo that all the angels normally had above their heads. Deciding to test out my new angel's wings, an inexplicable surge of knowledge coursed through me. It was as if a hidden part of me awakened, guiding me. With an instinctive flex of two muscles I didn't know I had, ones that seemed reserved solely for angels. The transformation happened with a bright golden glow surrounding me. In an instant, two ethereal wings burst forth from my back, a radiant glow lighting up the forest surrounding me, a golden halo materialized, floating above my head. I took a moment to study my newfound appendages, their golden feathers shimmering with a strange beauty. Examining the intricate details of my wings, I experimentally flapped them, an unfamiliar sensation coursed through my body. Glancing up at my halo once more and reaching up, I wrapped my hands around it and tried to move it, but it seemed to be locked in position, not budging in the slightest against my pulling. I had to admit, angels were hella underrated. I looked pretty badass judging by my reflection coming from the lake. I could definitely appreciate that I was going to be intimidating as F to whoever crossed paths with me. I stopped marveling at my appearance and decided to take these two babies out for a spin. Flapping my two new golden appendages, I got used to the motion and the strange feeling it caused on my back before I started to speed it up and watched in slight fascination as I began to hover up into the sky. With a powerful flap, I unsteadily took over with a gust of winds being blown around me. It was slow, and I had to balance myself so as to not plummet, but for my first attempt I felt I was doing pretty well. That was until a particular strong breeze blew against me and made me lose my balance. OSHT were the only two words I managed to get out before I began to fall towards the ground, hitting it with a massive thud that echoed around me. I groaned. That kind of hurt. I mostly felt winded from the impact. I lay there for a few seconds before jumping up and dusting my kimono off. New skill: Winged Flight. Winged Flight LVL, 1/20 novice. Winged flight is the ability to use your wings to fly. Those who learn how to use their wings during flight can block and avoid attacks. With the more mastery, the deadlier you become during flight. Passive effect: flying speed increased by 10%. Well, that certainly does make things easier. Flying would be a good thing to prioritize, since it would make traversing the forest much easier than traveling on foot, especially with the unknown factor at play. Since this is the underworld, I should expect that there were tons of monsters out for my BLD, especially since I was an angel. With that thought, I looked around at the surrounding trees only to see something moving in the corner of my scrutinizing gaze. Snapping my head around, the only thing I saw was the dark shadows cast by the thick trees and vegetation, though the more I looked the more I thought I saw the outline of a giant creature shrouded in the darkness staring right at me. Yup. I definitely think I should start working on that flying skill. With that in mind, I flapped my angelic wings and unsteadily took off in search of a new place to train and sleep for the night. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 2. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Totallynotsnipez on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.